Hello everyone, welcome back to Believer Science Academy, Bengaluru. This is daily news analysis session. In this session, we will be discussing some 5 to 6 very important articles from UPSC, prelims, mains as well as interview perspective. The first article for the day, that is 4th February 2025, is about Pradhana Mantri Shrama Yogi Mandan Yojana or PMSYM. It is in news because the budget 2025-26 allocation under PMSYM increased by 37% compared to last year. Okay, so the budget outlay has been increased to PMSYM. As a result, this is in news. About PMSYM, it is a government scheme for old age protection and social security of unorganized workers. Unorganized, or you can also say that informal workers. This is administered by the Ministry of Labor and Employment, and it is implemented by LIC CSE E-Governance Service Limited, that is CSE SPV. It is a special purpose vehicle. Okay, so LIC acts as the pension fund manager responsible for pension payouts. Funds are invested as per Government of India guidelines. Okay, so eligibility criteria is Indian citizens working in the unorganized sector such as street vendors, construction workers, rickshaw pullers, etc. are considered under this scheme. Age group of 18 to 40 years. The monthly income should be below 15,000 rupees, and he or she should not be a member of EPFO, ESIC or National Pension Scheme. Okay, they shouldn't be a member of these pension schemes or provisional fund activities. Only then they will be considered under Shrama Yogi Mandhan Yojana. So the key features of the scheme are: it is voluntary and contributory pension scheme. So the minimum assured pension is 3,000 per month after attaining 60 years of age. Okay, you can join either between 18 to 40 years. Once you join between 18 to 40 years, you will be paying a certain amount of premium every month. After the premium, rest of the premium is paid by the government, and both together will form a pension fund for you, which will start with 3,000 rupees per month when you reach the age of 60 years. Okay. So the contribution mode is are made via auto debit from savings or Jan Dhan account of the member. Contributions are required until 60 years of age. Okay, from both the government and from the individuals. The government contribution is a 50% basis with the matching contributions from the central government. Okay, so family pension, if the subscriber of the pension dies after retirement, spouse receives 50% of the pension. If the subscriber dies before the 60 years of age, the spouse can either continue contributions or exit with benefits as per the withdrawal policy. And exit and withdrawal: before 10 years, refund of subscribers share with interest. After 10 years but before 60, refund of contribution plus accumulated interest. Okay, so these are the key features of this scheme. Very important scheme. There can be a possibility of asking this question in your prelims, so be sure to note about this one. Okay, so sorry, the second article is again repeated here. Okay, the second article is about international relations, especially in the India's extended neighborhood. The news is about Iran's new missiles. Okay, Iran recently unveiled 2 new missiles, that is Etemad and Ghadar 380. Okay, About Athamad missile, it is a new ballistic missile developed by Iranian Defense Ministry. The range is 1700 kilometers. Size is 16 meters in length and 1.25 meters in diameter, and it is equipped with a precision guided warhead. Okay. And about Ghadar 380 missile, it is an anti-warship cruise missile developed by Iran Defense System as well. The range is again over 1000 kilometers. Features anti-jamming capability. Okay. So first one, like Atamard is a ballistic missile, whereas Ghadar is a cruise missile. So the difference between cruise and the ballistic missile is the trajectory they follow. Okay, so ballistic missile, it will be flung into the air with the propulsion, and after that it follows a parabolic path and falls down due to the gravitational force. So whereas cruise missile, it will be supported by thrust throughout. As a result, it will move in the same directions and it can change the direction as it wishes. Whereas ballistic missile, it will be like sent to the space or something, and from there it is made to drop in a parabolic path. Okay. So normally intercontinental missiles will be of like ballistic type, and fast-paced missiles will be cruise missiles. Okay. So ballistic missiles, they are powered initially by the rockets following an unpowered projectile trajectory, which I will explain you. Can carry both nuclear and conventional warheads, arches upwards before descending to hit the target, and cruise missile propelled by jet engines flying at low altitudes, self-propelled for most of its journey, uses more fuel but is harder to detect due to low altitude flight. Okay, the advantages of cruise missile is it can fly at a low level which can escape the sonar signals. Okay, so that is what makes it very important cruise missile. So these are the two important but very minor topics. So you should know the difference between ballistic and cruise missile, very basic. And third article is related to health or disease, whatever you can say. It is about Henipa virus. Henipa virus, the news is that a new Henipa virus or Campbell virus, which is related to infamous Nipah virus, has been detected in North America, raising concerns of a potential outbreak. About Henipa virus, family is Paramyxoviridae, type is zoonotic, negative sense RNA viruses, and the natural hosts are again the fruit bats, that is Pteropus species of flying foxes. Okay, it can cross species barriers, infecting various mammals including humans. Okay, so remember the keyword, that is zoonotic diseases. Zoonotic diseases are those diseases which can spread from animals to human beings. Okay, this causes severe respiratory illnesses and encephalitis with high fatality rates. Okay, now some of the notable Henipa viruses are Hendra virus, which is identified in Australia with a mortality rate of up to 70%. Then the Nipah virus outbreak in India, Southeast Asia, many areas with a fatality rate of 40 to 75%. And the transmission is, it transmits with a direct contact with infected animals such as bats, horses, pigs, monkeys, etc., or consumption of contaminated food and water. And these are also transmissible from human to human transmission via bodily fluids, close contact, or respiratory droplets. Okay, so very important methods. Okay, you should be knowing about these things. There can easily be a statement based questions on these kind of diseases. Okay, so the symptoms are, there are early signs, and in severe cases it changes. The early signs are dizziness, headache, fever, and muscle pain. In severe or extreme cases, it will lead to encephalitis, confusion, abnormal reflexes, seizures, and coma. Okay, so then why are Henipa virus so deadly? By the severe cases and by the rate of mortality, you should already knowing that it is very dangerous. It is dangerous again because it encodes proteins that block the innate immune response. It suppresses immune defenses, allowing rapid viral replication. So the treatment or no vaccine or antiviral drug is available at the moment. Treatment is only symptomatic, that is focusing on the supportive care. You can only treat the symptoms, that is dizziness, encephalitis, etc. etc. But there is no particular cure for this Henipa virus, or there is no cure for Nipah or Mortavirus. Okay, and there is no vaccine as well. So remember these two viruses. There can easily be a question about Hendra virus and Nipah virus, which family it belongs to. Okay, then what kind of transmission it happens through, whether is it zoonotic, whether is it contagious, whether is it vector based, or etc. etc. Then the fourth article, very important and in news most of the times, is small modular reactors. Okay, so it is in news because under the new nuclear energy mission, the finance ministers announced a 20,000 crore investment under nuclear energy mission to develop indigenous small modular reactors. Okay, to develop indigenous small modular reactors. What are small modular reactors? So in definition, they are small nuclear reactors with a maximum output of 300 megawatt electric, capable of producing 7.2 million kilowatt hour per day. Okay, they are considered small modular because they are small with respect to the maximum output, and they are small with respect to the input they receive. Okay, maximum output of 300 megawatt electric and capable of producing 7.2 million kilowatt hour per day. In comparison to the traditional nuclear power plants, which generate over 1000 megawatt electric energy and 24 million kilowatt hour per day. Okay, so very less compared to the power generated as well as the electricity generated there. Okay, the key characteristics are obviously it is small, both in physically as well as with respect to the power as well as with respect to the raw materials needed for this reactors. They are modular, meaning components are factory assembled and transported for on-site installation. Okay, normally the traditional nuclear reactors are built in a particular area and are immovable. Once you establish a nuclear reactors at a particular place, you cannot shift it to another places with respect to traditional nuclear conventional reactors. But these small modular reactors, you can take all the parts of nuclear reactors and assemble at a particular place and then disassemble and assemble it at another place as well. Then it is reactor based, that is it uses nuclear fission to generate heat and produce energy. Okay, nuclear fission is different, fusion is different. Fusion happens only at the moment, happens only in the sun or the stars. The human beings have not been successful till now to produce the fusion reactors at the moment, but there have been certain projects going on with respect to nuclear fusion reactors, which are called as tokamaks. Okay, so the advantages are, it is a compact design, meaning requires less physical space. Since it is a smaller, it is lower capital investment is required, so that it becomes cost effective compared to large nuclear plants. And factory built, unlike traditional reactors that require on-site construction, they are not factory built. They are easily factory built. And flexible location, can be deployed in remote areas where large reactors are not feasible. Incremental power allocations or additions, it allows for scalable energy generation. You can improve upon the energy generation from with the introduction of other smaller model reactors as well. And less frequent fueling. It requires fueling every 3 to 7 years compared to 1 or 2 years for the conventional nuclear reactors. Okay, some designs operate up to 30 years without refueling. Okay, so these are very positive advantages of the small model nuclear reactors, along with enhanced safety and security, meaning it provides stronger safeguards, security, and non-proliferation benefits. Okay, meaning the raw materials of this or the byproducts of this nuclear model, small model nuclear reactors cannot be used further for producing the nuclear bombs or warheads. Okay, which is not the case with respect to conventional nuclear reactors. Okay, the raw materials which is the byproduct in the nuclear reactors is mainly the plutonium, which can be used for producing nuclear warheads with a further enrichment. Okay, it also results in energy integration, meaning can easily be integrated into energy hubs alongside other power sources, capable of supplying heat for industrial applications, district heating, and hydrogen production. Okay, so many advantages. Remember the difference between small modular reactors and conventional, mainly with respect to size and mainly with respect to refueling, mainly with respect to power generation. Size is very small, it is modular, meaning can be assembled, and it is reactor based where nuclear fission happens. And with respect to power, only 3000, whereas compared to conventional it is 10,000 megawatt electric energy, or 4000 sorry 2 point, what is that, very important for you to remember these things, 300 megawatt electric and 7.2 million kilowatt, whereas here it is 1000 megawatt electric and 24 million kilowatt per day. Okay, so that is the main difference between small and modular reactors and conventional nuclear reactors. The fifth article is an editorial from the Hindu. It talks about some wind behind the sails of India's shipping industry. Again, a budget related topic. It talks about government's effort to boost the fishery or maritime sector. Okay, the Indian government has actively invested in the maritime sector, particularly through the Sagarmala program, which includes 839 projects with an investment of rupees 5.8 lakh crore planned by 2035. And several projects have been completed while others are under the implementation or in different developmental stages. These initiatives focuses on port modernization, industrialization, coastal community development, and inland water transport. Okay, so this, as a result of this, it has led to growth of India's economy and growth of India in EXIM trade. India's GDP rose from 1.53 trillion in 2016-17 to 2.72 trillion in 2022-23. Despite setbacks from the COVID-19 pandemic, the country's EXIM trade also grew significantly from 646 billion in 1670 to 1.16 trillion in 2022, indicating a strong trade expansion. The government aims to boost the exports to 2 trillion by 2030. Okay. However, the article understands that there are certain challenges with respect to shipping industry. Those are high capital cost and the borrowing cost, short loan tenures, and strict collateral requirements for the shipping industries, taxation laws favoring foreign flag vessels rather than Indian flag vessels, difficulties in repatriating the funds for ship acquisitions, stringent regulatory requirements and mandatory training for Indian seafarers, higher port charges reducing the competitiveness. In contrast, ships registered in tax havens are those countries where they charge very less tax for the people who are investing there. So those countries are called as tax havens without any minimum tax. or flags of convenience benefit from easier access to capital, lower cost, and minimal regulatory oversight, making them more competitive than Indian flag vessels. Okay, next, union budget and the policy measures. Union budget 2024 introduced some measures to support the shipping sector, that is 25,000 crore investment for port modernization in the budget and 10-year tax exemption for customs duty on ship repair and maintenance, very important. Along with this, it also focused on expansion of coastal community development activities. However, the budget failed to address major concerns such as high capital costs, taxation issues, and ship acquisition financing. So the article calls for need for investment in the shipbuilding and green technology. So though the government is on the right step with regard to ship development and maritime sector, there are certain areas which needs to be addressed, such as Indian shipping fleet requires an urgent renewal as many vessels are aging. The country also needs investments in green technology, long-term financing, and strategies to support Indian shipbuilders. The government has introduced policies to encourage local shipbuilding, but these efforts remain insufficient compared to the global trends. So, conclusion is that India's path to becoming the maritime power, it must increase investment in the shipbuilding, provide financial support to the shipping industry, and introduce a favorable policies for the Indian flagged vessels. With this, India can focus on port and terminal development, must also be extended to support ship owners and shipbuilders, which will ensure a long-term growth and competitiveness in global trade. Okay, so very important, 25,000 crore tax and 10-year 10-year deduction in the custom tax for the 10 years. So those are very important points which you have to remember. Another is again an editorial from the Hindu, which deals with the kind of jobs needed for the Vikasit Bharat goal. The article discusses the types of jobs India must focus on creating to achieve the vision of Vikasit Bharat or the developed India. It highlights the need for long-term job creation and real wage growth beyond just urban consumption. So, article deals with various issues. One is employment linked incentives and job creation. Okay, we already have a production linked incentive. On the same line, the union budget in 2024 introduced employment linked incentives, very important, employment linked incentives under the PM's 5 scheme initiative aimed at generating over 4 crore jobs in 5 years with a rupees 2 lakh crore outlay. The internship scheme under employment linked incentive received 6.21 lakh applications for 1.27 lakh opportunities, indicating significant interest. However, further deliberations is needed on what kind of jobs should India create. Okay, so we already discussed about creating the employment. Now the aim is deciding what kind of jobs should India be creating. Okay, so the article talks for jobs which are climate resilient, meaning India has faced severe climate change related losses amounting to a whopping 159 billion rupees dollars in 2021 and an estimated $1 trillion by 2030. The impacts on agriculture, labor productivity, and livelihoods necessitate investment in climate resilient jobs through eco-friendly infrastructure in rural and urban areas, rejuvenation of local ecosystem, state subsidized e-rickshaws and renewable energy projects, decentralized solar energy and compressed biogas plants. So by accelerating non-fossil energy capacity targets, over 1 million jobs can be created, especially in labor intensive rooftop solar projects. Okay, and the second type of job should be AI resilient jobs, that is artificial intelligence resilient jobs. With the rise of artificial intelligence and automation, nearly 50% of the jobs now have some automation potential. Okay, very important. The McKinsey Global Institute predicts that 50% of AI adoption in India within the next 10 years, impacting IT, business services, and exports. However, human centric skills remain crucial. So, what should be the strategy to creating AI resilient jobs? That is expanding education and healthcare to fill shortages in professionals, digital inclusion for rural and small businesses, dedicated financing for rural self-employment and local markets. Okay, and third type is aspiration centric jobs, meaning despite rising engagement in startups, rural youth have low confidence in their economic future. The government must focus on bridging the rural and urban employment job gap through strengthening the non-farm employment to match the modern aspirations, building rural infrastructure like pack houses and supply chain integration, which can generate 2 million jobs, and boosting value added processing for exports and manufacturing, and encouraging tech enabled agriculture and rural industries. Okay, then using social media and digital branding can make rural jobs more aspirational, attracting the youth. Programs like National Mission on Edible Oil Seeds can reduce edible oil imports while boosting rural industries in soybean and sunflower processing. Okay, so creating employment in the agriculture by reducing the imports and increasing the Indian production or indigenous production. So conclusion is the article calls for a structural reform approach to job creation. So the government should focus on climate resilient jobs to tackle environmental challenges, AI resilient jobs that prioritize human creativity and digital inclusivity, aspiration centric jobs to retain youth in non-farm sectors. So very key important words: climate resilient jobs, AI resilient jobs, and aspiration centric jobs. You can note it down and use in your answers. Okay, so finally, last article for the day is another editorial from the Hindu, which talks about how will the government produce the required fuel ethanol. Okay, so we already know that government is aiming for 20% blending of ethanol with the petrol. So for providing 20% ethanol blending with petrol, how is the government able to produce the required ethanol? So the editorial discusses India's production capacity, sources of ethanol, and the role of maize in achieving the target of 20% ethanol blending with petrol. So India's ethanol blending target: recently, Union Minister Nitin Gadkari announced that India will achieve its 20% ethanol blending goal in the next 2 months, a year ahead of its schedules. This requires 1,100 crore liters of fuel per year. Okay, so the sources of ethanol production: India's ethanol supply will primarily comes from sugar and high grade molasses, which is expected to contribute 400 crore liters. Food Corporation of India's rice and broken rice, maize, which has seen increased production and imports. Okay, so India's ethanol distillery industry or capacity has increased to 1,600 crore liters thanks to the government incentives and stable ethanol market. And the government's role and the recent developments are: the government reduced the FCI price or rice price for distilleries from rupees 28 to 22.5 per kg to encourage ethanol production. almost 110 crore liters of ethanol will be produced using FCI rice. Okay, and India previously relied entirely on sugar based ethanol, but production from maize has also grown significantly in the past years. So the main reason from this article is that there were incentives given to the distilleries, that is reduction in the cost of rice from 28 to 21 rupees, 22 rupees, and availability of FCA rice, and finally diversifying to maize from sugar dominated ethanol. So these are the reasons how India is able to reach, or how India is performing well in achieving the goal of 20% ethanol blending. And also discusses about the role of maize in ethanol production. Maize production is traditionally used for poultry feed, livestock, starch, and human consumption. Due to restrictions on sugar and molasses based production, maize imports started increasing in April 2024. And from April to June 2024, 100 crore rupees worth of maize was imported, and for 2023-24 maize imports were 393 million rupees. Okay, so maize cultivation has also expanded by 10% in India with the higher yields expected. So experts believe that using maize for ethanol is more profitable for farmers. However, long-term sustainability depends on ensuring the food security and balancing ethanol demand with maize availability for traditional uses. What are the traditional uses? Such as human consumption, livestock feeding, etc., etc. They also discuss about economic and environmental benefits of shifting to maize. That is, 100 crore liters of ethanol could lead to 6,000 rupees crore on savings on oil imports. India's annual oil import bill is 10.5 lakh crore rupees, and increased ethanol blending can help reduce dependency on foreign oils. And a byproduct of ethanol production, that is distillers dried grains with solubles, or DDGS, can be used in poultry feed, reducing the concerns about supply disruptions as well. Okay, so there are both environmental and economic benefits. So India is on track to meet the ethanol blending goals by diversifying ethanol sources and increasing maize production. However, there is a need for careful planning is needed to balance fuel ethanol demand with the food security and agricultural sustainability. Okay, so very important articles we have discussed today. With that, our discussion for the day ends. If you like the video, please hit the like button, comment on the video, and also share with your friends. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.